Welcome to Unleash Vision and Faith, the podcast for faith-driven women entrepreneurs over 55 who are ready to build businesses with purpose and impact. We believe it's never too late to pursue the vision God has placed on your heart. Each week, we'll dive into faith-centered leadership, mindset breakthroughs, and practical business strategies that help you grow with clarity, confidence, and kingdom alignment. We're so excited you joined us today. So grab your Bible, your journal, and your favorite cup of coffee. Let's get started.
Welcome to Unleash Vision and Faith, where today we have a treat with us. Alison is from the French Polynesian, and I want to mess up your name. Is it Gieschen?
That's perfect. Gieschen, yes.
Yep. Well, we're so happy to have you here with us and to share your faith and your journey. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, so I grew up a farm girl in upstate New York on a 100-acre farm. And I was the last of 6 kids, and the 3 above me were boys. So I was like an only child because the boys wanted nothing to do with me. And I spent a lot of time because we weren't close to anybody. We just were out in the middle of nowhere, just, playing outside and with my horses. And there was one spot on our property between our house and our large garden, and I would be walking to barefoot. And I had a couple of very unique experiences there where a voice talked to me and said, someday you're going to find somebody who loves you unconditionally. Now, when you're 8 years old and you hear those words, I'm trying to even figure out what they meant.
Yeah.
I didn't know, but it was a very clear voice, as if it was, somebody speaking to me. And so I had several of these experiences, but one of them was also when I was walking through the same stretch barefoot in the grass on my way to the garden, that I pictured myself on a boat, standing on a boat with sails, and we were flying across the water. And in upstate New York, there were no sailboats. I didn't see them. I wasn't around them. I had no reason to conjure up this vision. And but I was just in awe. I thought this is the coolest feeling in the world, like being on this boat and being powered by the wind and flying across the water. And I thought, how cool would it be to sail around the whole world someday? So I went running back in the house. I'm like, Mom, I want to learn how to sail. And she's like, okay, honey, that's nice. So fast forward to my parents sold the farm because all the boys went to college and I was there by myself and we couldn't take care of it. So we downgraded to Charlotte, North Carolina, which was a very big adjustment. And the people there did not like Northerners. So the first words that were ever spoken to me when I went to my new Christian school was, go home, you damn Yankee.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. And they, of course, that boy got paddled. But, I was really bullied really badly. And there was times when I wanted to take my own life and I really struggled. And then I found sailing on a man-made lake, Lake Norman, an 80-mile man-made lake. And I took up competitive sailing all the way through college. And my mom had retired and moved to the coast of North Carolina, where she was going to become the fastest woman skipper. But there were no other women skippers. So now she's going to be the fastest skipper, period. And on weekends, I would travel the 4 hours from Charlotte to New Bern to sail with her in these regattas. And one weekend was this really big regatta, and I definitely had to go. And meanwhile, my cousin, who's all live in Pennsylvania, whose dad lived in New Bern, asked his desk mate, who was a merchant marine graduate and a 3-time national dinghy sailing champion, hey, you want to be a ringer on my Aunt Jerry's boat? He's like, yeah. They got in the van. They drove all 11 hours down. And we met that weekend, and we spent 3 days together. At the end of the long weekend, getting ready to go back to Philadelphia. I'm going back to Charlotte. Because, my dream is to sail around the world someday. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, mine too. Let's get married. So we did.
Wow. That's amazing. So being on the regatta, how many boats were there in all that?
Like 30, like 30.
Wow.
Probably 30 or so, yeah.
Yeah, I bet that was amazing. Yeah, so what happened with your mom? She became the fastest skipper woman?
She was just the fastest skipper, period. She had this library that was just filled with trophies, all these sailing trophies and plaques and cups, and she was unbeatable. She was amazing.
That's wonderful how God put that dream in your heart to sail around the world, and then that person,
it was a key phrase. It was
right.
Yeah, a phrase that he put in my thoughts, and how when it's destiny when somebody speaks the phrase that God personally handed to you. Like I had no doubts. This is the guy I'm supposed to marry.
Exactly. Trust and obey. That's our faith taking action. So what happened? Tell us.
So I came with horses. And so when we got married, I moved up to the area where he was, obviously, because he had the job and I didn't. I just graduated college. And he built me a beautiful horse farm. And we had 3 kids right away, 3 under 5. And I tried to make their life like my life. I had a farm with our own garden and all different kinds of animals. And we raised animals and milked goats and ate chicken eggs. And it was wonderful. And I became a school teacher because I wanted my summers off. I wanted to be with my kids. And I thought, well, I have this degree in English. What am I going to do with it? Because I wanted to be a journalist, but that wasn't going to happen now. So for 25 years, I was a school teacher. But my summers were always filled with horses and competitions. And I had an equestrian program and we traveled all over and competed. And then 6 miles away from my house, the government decided to build a $25 million horse park. Oh. And they needed a director. Oh. And I called to try to book an event there. And they went, well, we're not even open yet. We need somebody to run this place. Do you know anybody? And I'm like, oh. I said, I have a master's in administration and leadership, and I've had a horse farm for all my life. And they're like, well, come apply. So I thought, well, this isn't going to happen. But I went and I applied for it, and I got the job.
Wow.
So I left my tenured teaching position, which happened to be the biggest mistake of my life, because this government organization was run by very corrupt individuals who were stealing from the government and funneling money through the park. And I found out about it. And it led to a very disastrous ending in a lawsuit where I sued them, and I won. However, I could never work for the government again, and I could never work in school again because I made too much money when I left because I had a master's and I've been teaching for, 15 years. So they're like, we can't afford to take you back. So that's when I fell into depression, and I was just devastated, and I had no purpose in my life. I mean, I still had my horses and my kids, but I was just beaten down. Like I'd been run over by a steamroller, I just couldn't get back up. And my husband watched this, and he looked at me one day and he goes, it's time. I said, time for what? He goes, we're going to do it. We're going to live our dream. We're going to sell this house. We're going to sell everything you own. We're going to get on a boat. And we're going to go around the world. So it's been 8 years, and here we are.
Wow. So the kids went with you?
Oh, gosh, no. They're all married and have their own kids.
Oh. So it's just y'all. That's wonderful. So did you actually make it around the world, or did you just go to where you're at and stop? Or
No, we're trying to circumnavigate. We're trying to get all the way around the globe. But when we first left, I gave my husband 10 years. Should be able to get around in 10 years. And he drew out this route map and planned it, and showed this route that we're going to take. We never got to a single country when we thought we'd be there, and not even all the places we thought we would visit. We got couple years out and COVID hit. We were stuck in Ireland for 2 years. Oh, wow. And we couldn't go into the Baltic because it was shut down even after COVID opened back up. And then in 5 countries now, we have been stuck 3 months or more waiting for boat parts, because it's not if something's going to break on a boat, it's when something breaks on a boat. Mm-hmm. So it's really tested me to the limit to be in these places and want to go, and we just can't leave. We can't leave until that part gets there, and the part gets delayed, and the part gets lost, and I cry, and my husband is a saint because he has not thrown me overboard yet, but any other sane man probably would have by now. So
one that God said was coming. So how big is your boat?
43 feet.
43 feet. Yeah, that's pretty big. That's amazing that you took off from Pennsylvania. That's where you started?
Actually, we lived in New Jersey, and about an hour and a half away south of us in Delaware was the marina where we brought our boat up from where we bought it in Georgia, and we had it in this marina preparing for our trip, because a lot of preparation involved to sell everything you own and move aboard a boat, and a lot of education and a lot of things to consider.
So while you're stuck at these places, what do you do? Do you meet people? Do you get involved with the community? I mean, do you work on a mission? How do you serve while you're there?
Well, kind of all of the above. It depends on the country. For instance, we got stuck in Cape Verde for 3 months, and that is the most underprivileged place I've been yet on the planet.
Oh,
And the marina was behind locked gates, and all the people who didn't have jobs and had to beg for a living were all outside of those gates. So every single time we walked out the street, they would come in and flood us. It was very overwhelming and very sad. There's only 6 last names on the entire island. It used to be a slave island because it was like a midway point between North America, South America, and Africa. So all the slaves got dumped off there. And now there's only 6 last names because 70% of the children born there leave. And the young women on the island, when they have babies, they just hand them off to their mother or their grandmother. They don't bother getting married. And the average income is $160 a month.
wow.
So while we were there, every day that we walked out those doors, we'd pick one person and we'd have to push all the rest away. And we'd take that person to the store and we would buy them what they needed to feed their baby, their milk, eggs. And we just picked one person a day to help. So we did what we could.
That is doing good. That's what we're supposed to be doing, the good, helping others. So that was really your faith in action. So I know that you started off in Delaware. And did you go straight to Europe, or did you go down the United States and around that way? Or what was your route kind of that y'all mapped out?
Well, we wanted to leave the East Coast and cross to the Caribbean right away. So we joined what's called a rally, which is a group of boats that crosses together. And you have a weather router that, gives you the weather information, and all these people inspect your boats and your safety equipment and give you seminars on safety. And so you spend a week preparing, and then you all leave as one fleet. So we all left, but we had to turn south because we were up in Portsmouth, and we had to go down south to find a place to cross the Gulf Stream that was a bit narrower, because the Gulf Stream is this big, river running up, and it gets very wide as it goes north. So it's safer to cross if you go down south. So we were around the Wilmington area, and we had sailed overnight, and everybody's tacking to cross the Gulf Stream, and then we heard a strange noise in our engine. And my husband's like, I don't know if I want to cross the Atlantic with something wrong with our engine, because it was like a cavitation sound in our prop. So he says, I'm going to leave it up to you. Do you want to cross, or do you want to go get this checked out? I'm like, I want to go get it checked out. So make a long story short, we were there 10 days and couldn't find anything wrong. We had the boat pulled out of the water, inspected by like 4 different people. Nobody could find anything wrong. So now we're on our own, and we're at the dock, and the weather router calls us up one morning and says, you have an hour to get out and cross the Gulf Stream because there's a big storm coming. If you don't go now, it's going to be 10 more days before you can leave. So Dan's like, we're pulling dock lines, we're going. So we get the dock lines off, fill up with gas, head out. This is the morning. So it took us all night to cross the Gulf Stream, and we get across safely. We're finally out of it. And my watch is 5 in the morning. I go up, and Dan goes down to go to bed. And as I'm sitting there up on the watch, the sun starts rising up over the horizon, and I'm watching it. It's so beautiful. And then I see this giant wave coming for us. And I'm just like terrified. And the boat gets to the wave, it goes up and over and back down again. And I didn't know what to do. And then the second one was coming, and the boat just went up and over and down again. And I realized I've been going over waves that big, I just couldn't see them. Until the light came up. But I tried really hard to keep it together, and I couldn't. And then I start banging on the floor with my foot because the bed's right under where my feet are. I'm banging on. I'm like, Dan, you gotta come up here. So he comes up, and he sees how big the waves are, and the wind starts picking up. And I don't know if you've seen the movie A Perfect Storm. You heard of the movie A Perfect Storm?
Yes.
Well, that's exactly what we were caught in. There was a front behind us, a front in front of us, and they were converging. And they were pushing the waves closer and closer, building them bigger, and the winds were getting stronger. And then by the next couple of hours, we had 18 20-foot waves crashing on the deck of our boat. And I was terrified, and I thought, this is it.
Wow.
First time I crossed the ocean, and this is where we're going to die. And I went back in my bed, and I prayed, and I prayed. I'm like, dear Lord, please just get us through this. Please, please, please. And we had $14,000 worth of damage done to our boat. It ripped the dinghy off the deck. The whole rails holding it to the deck, the screws and everything, put it through the lifelines. The dinghy was tied to the mast, so now the mast was being threatened to be pulled off. And my husband had to strap in and go up on the deck and cut the thing free. And then he had to go all the way up to the bow of the boat. The anchor had come loose and it was threatening to put a hole in the boat, an 80-pound anchor. And every time we went over a wave, the boat dropped, and he would drop because the boat would just leave. And I was terrified. I just thought of him going into the sea, and like, I'm jumping in with you, honey, if you go in, because I'm not staying on this boat alone. I'm ready. So we finally got ourselves together, and we made a phone call to shore with our sat phone at that time. And I got a hold of my cousin. He goes, you need to get off the Atlantic right now because there's a storm coming. And if you don't get off now, you're going to be in really big trouble. And I guess it was the one that the weather radar had talked about, but it had shifted and gone out to sea instead of going up the coast. So we turned our boat. Dan says, let's do it. Let's go back. He turns the boat back towards shore. And as we're sailing in a new direction, all of a sudden the wind starts dying. The waves get smaller, the sun comes out, and a pod of dolphins comes and starts jumping around our boat. And they're jumping and they're flipping and they're tossing and they're smiling. And it was just my sign, because they're like my spirit animals. I'm like, Dan, this was the right decision. So 2 days later, we ended up back at shore. We were 10 miles from where we started, and we had $14,000 worth of damage done to our boat.
Wow.
So
what a miracle. I mean, just how good God is, to protect us, when you're going in alone. You were with the crowd, you were with your safety net, y'all were going, and then suddenly you found yourself alone. But he always shows up in the middle of those literal storms and any of our emotional storms. He's always there with us.
And we had two miracles immediately after that. The $14,000 for the damage to our boat was covered by insurance. They covered every dime. The damage it did to me on the inside, I didn't think it could be fixed. So we arrived the day before Thanksgiving, and I met this lady in the laundry room because I had to wash all of our sheets and blankets. Everything was soaked in seawater. And I'm in this little laundry room feeling real sorry for myself. And I'm looking at this lady sitting there. I'm like, well, tomorrow's Thanksgiving, isn't it? And she goes, yeah. I said, would you come have Thanksgiving with us on our boat? Because I really need a friend right now. So she's absolutely. So she and her husband came over, and I cooked little Cornish game hens because I couldn't find a turkey. And they told us their story, and it made me feel like such a wimp. They had so many more battles. Their husband had a heart attack the day they sold their house to get on their boat. And then she got cancer after they moved on their boat. And then she fell and broke her back after that. And like all this stuff. And they were still out here. And she was so strong and so faithful. And I'm like, I am such a wimp. Like this woman made everything I had been through just seem like a piece of cake. And it was the one person that, showed up when I needed it the most and gave me the confidence to continue.
That's how God is, though. He shows up and he works through other people, just like he's working through you. Maybe someone else is getting ready to take their trip around the world, and they just need to hear a little bit of what they need to get ready for. Because it's not just all rainbows and sunshine.
No, it's not.
So you had Thanksgiving, and then what happened? Did you get back on the sea?
We did. We traveled up and down the coast of the United States. We went all the way down to Florida, back up to Maine. And Dan decided, let's take a breather. Let's just rewind, get used to our boat, and do this. So we did. And also, my daughter qualified for the 2018 World Equestrian Games. Wow. And I didn't want to be off somewhere and have to fly back. So we kind of tarried so that I could, when it came time for the competition, just to rent a car and go drive and watch her compete in the World Championships. And she got 8th in the world, so I was really glad that I stayed. And
congratulations.
I've been teaching her. Thank you. I've been teaching her since she was 3, and finally at I think 23, she made it on the world stage. So that was exciting. But then it came time to cross again, and I promised myself I would be brave and I would be faithful and I would just trust in the journey. And every time the weather started getting rougher than predicted and the waves started getting bigger than they were supposed to, I would have panic attacks. I'm like, I can't. My faith was not strong enough at that point. I don't know. I still got very scared. So we sailed around the Virgin Islands for several months, and it's time to make our next crossing to Europe. And I was waking up every morning going, today's the day I'm going to tell my husband I can't do this. Like, you get somebody else to sail with you, I'll fly and meet you, but I can't. Fear is too great.
Mm.
So we were in the harbor before we were going to take off for Bermuda and then Europe. And we were in a harbor with 100 boats. And 3 boats away was a man that I did a 1,000-mile heavy weather training passage with. I had listened to him speak at boat shows and read all 5 of his books, and he was my mentor.
Mm.
And here he was 3 boats away in this harbor. So we call him up, and he invites us over to his boat, and we go over because he hadn't seen us in 3 years. And the odds of that man being 3 boats away from us when the earth is covered by 80% water, and there are thousands of islands and thousands of countries, and he was 3 boats away.
Yeah.
So we go over there, and he goes, so Alison, how's it going? And I start tearing up. I'm like, John, we were in this terrible storm, and I'm describing everything that happened, and he looks at me and he starts laughing. And I go, why are you laughing? And he goes, do you know how lucky you are? I'm like, no. He said, well, your boat did great. Your husband did great. And most importantly, you're still out here. He goes, do you know how many people would have sold the boat and never gotten back on? He goes, and the chances of you ever being in that scenario again is like 0. He goes, you are going to be fine. And he was the only person in the world, my sailing mentor, who could have looked me in the eye and told me that, and I would have believed him.
Mm.
And God put him 3 boats away.
I know, that is just a coincidence right there to help you build your faith, build your confidence, just to get that boldness again, because I would have sold the boat, okay? But you did it. You stayed out there and you kept going. That's wonderful.
But that's just too much to be a coincidence, because the earth is too big to put the only person that you respected in the sailing world, your teacher, 3 boats away from you in some foreign country, and for the purpose of the day that you plan up and telling your husband, I can't do this, and he is there on that day.
There's bigger things for you. So he increased your faith and you didn't tell him, right?
Well, I told him I didn't think I could do it. And he's like, you got this. You absolutely have this. And then another really amazing miracle is that when things would start getting bad again weather-wise, one of his books talks about this world record he broke. He started from the 44th parallel on the East Coast, which is New York City, and he sailed all the way around down South America, around the Cape to the 44th parallel, which is San Francisco. And the smallest boat in recorded history was a 32-foot Contessa. And not only did I read the books, but when I went out and did a heavy weather training passage, he would tell us the stories personally. So it's so cool, like reading a book and then like sitting with the person that wrote that book. So I could ask questions and hear it out of his mouth. So he was talking about when he was rounding the Cape, there was 30-foot waves. And the waves were so big that when he looked out of his boat in this wall of water, he could see fish swimming above his boat. That's how big these waves were. So whenever the weather started getting rough, I would think of this little boat called Gigi that won this world record. I'm like, if Gigi can do it, our boat's twice her size. We can do this. We've got this. And I would think of Gigi, Gigi. So fast forward to when we were stuck in Ireland with COVID, we did get released for a few weeks. And we went and sailed around the Scottish Isles. There are hundreds of Scottish Isles. They're just dotted all over the place, and they're beautiful, and they're rustic, and they're just magical. So we're on one of these little islands. We pulled in just for the night, and we'd wake up the next morning because I needed to get some groceries. And there's a little tiny grocery store. You had to walk 2 miles to get to it, but it was groceries. You had to get them where you could. And then the next morning, we're going to continue island hopping. And so I was getting ready with the engine. Dan was on the dock getting ready to toss the lines on the boat. And he goes, Alison, you got to come out here. I'm like, okay, it's a strange request. But I got off the boat and I walked up and I'm like, what's the matter? Does he see that boat at the dock in front of you? Like, I look at it. I'm going, oh, is that a Contessa? This boat that John Kretschmer sailed? He goes, yeah. He goes, look at the name on the boat. And I looked at the name, and the name was Gigi.
Oh.
So I walk up, and I see a man walking towards the boat, and I'm like, excuse me, sir, is this the Gigi? He goes, this is the Gigi. And I just broke down and started crying. This boat, John Kretschmer's boat, my mentor. And this boat was so famous, it had been in a museum in England. I thought it was still in the museum. But when the museum remodeled, they took the boat out. This man bought it and was sailing because he was from that area. And the boat that got me through the worst passages in the roughest weather that I pictured in my mind. Again, what are the chances of being on one of the 100 islands, and it was one boat away? And I'm like, can I touch her? And I walked up and I just laid my hands on her. And it was just, and I knew it was a miracle. Like I had no doubt that was a miracle.
That was definitely a miracle. I mean, you're over in Ireland, Scotland. I mean, all these islands over there, and that is definitely a miracle for sure. And a sign for you, because you know what? God says signs and wonders, miracles that we'll do, and they'll follow us. They're obviously following you, Allison.
Every day, every day. Like when we've had a really horrible Pacific crossing. We had ran into a Chinese fishing net and it took out our steering and our autopilot, and we were 600 miles from shore. And I was really brave. I was very proud of myself that I didn't get wrapped up in my fear this time. We just took things as we needed. We had to take a day and just drift while my husband got the steering fixed. And then our autopilot was gone, so we had to hand steer, which you don't do anymore on these boats. You have an autopilot that takes you. And hand steering is something I never wanted to have to do across an ocean. And here, it was happening. We were going to have to do it or not get there. But anyway, we get to these islands, and 90% of the people here have tattoos. And what happens is when you cross the equator, you go from a shellback to a pollywog. You get a new status in life as a sailor. It's an accomplishment. And every one of the sailors that I know, hundreds of them, they all go and get some small token of a tattoo to signify that we've done this, and it's your mark forever that you have accomplished this. So we've always been anti-tattoo. None of our kids have any, or like, we're getting a tattoo. We hand steered 680 miles. We're getting the tattoo. So I got a dolphin, and my husband got a manta ray. And we had more problems as we got here. The engine that we paid to have fixed in Panama, the man left a rag stuffed in the turbocharger. So by the time we got here, it destroyed our engine. So we were stuck in this harbor last October, and we were beginning to just feel really downcast because the part we needed wasn't in existence anymore. We couldn't buy it even. And so we're standing there on the deck of our boat, and a pod of 3 or 4 manta rays swims up to our boat. Now you might see them off in the distance. They circled our boat for 30 minutes. Wow. Just going around and around. And just like that dolphin showed up on the day that we turned, when my husband was really feeling distraught and like maybe this is it, then they showed up for him. And it's just so unusual for them to stay like so close to a boat and not leave. And I was able to get down on my knees and take a video of them and watch them and film them. And it was just, they showed up when we needed them. And again, it was just another very clear sign that he's got us. He sends his creatures to tell us.
Yes, for sure. Wow.
And guess what?
Amazing. What? Tell me.
Yesterday, our engine started. We got it fixed.
Praise God. So y'all have been there since October?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, wow.
October.
That is such a blessing. Well, I mean, you should do a blog or something to just tell about
I have a blog.
You have a blog. Well, tell us about your blog.
It's Sailmates, like soulmates, but sailmates, SAILMATES.org. Okay. And I have books about the first 3 years is Riding the Waves of Reality, Tales of Turmoil and Triumph, and that's from selling the boat to the first 3 years. Then Riding the Waves of Reality 2 is Mediterranean Mayhem and Magic. And I am just now finishing up book 3, which gets us all the way crossing the Atlantic again to the Caribbean and then crossing the Pacific to here. And that should come out in the next month or so.
That is amazing. So how many years have y'all been? I mean, I'm talking to you thinking like y'all just started, but how long has it been? How many years?
8 years.
8 years. So you're just 2 years short. I mean, 2 more years, not short.
No, it won't happen in 2 years. I know that. I'm okay with that. But we sold our home. It's not like we have a house to go back to.
Right.
And everybody's like, what are you going to do? What are your plans? I'm like, I don't have plans. Whatever God wants us to do, that's what we'll do. But we're certainly not going to plan it because we've never been right yet.
That's the thing is that you've heard people say, tell God your plans, and he just laughs because he's got the best plan for us. And, we just have to learn to let go of that life, the control that we try to have over our life because he's got the master plan and it's the best for us. I mean, when we sit back and just trust him, as obviously you have all these books and your blog and all these journeys as proof. You're proof positive that he is guiding you and leading you and keeping you, just like he keeps us all, right in his hands. He's going
Right.
before us and coming behind us, and we need to remember that. We're not alone in this journey. Even you may feel alone, but you are not alone.
So I have an author website that's my name, AlisonGieschen.com.
Okay.
And as you know, I grew up on a horse farm and had horses all my life. And unfortunately, because I took care of horses twice a day, every day, my entire life, they still show up in my dreams and I still have to feed them and take care of them. And it's really awful because I'm exhausted every night. They need hay, they need something. Somebody gets out. And Dan wakes up and goes, what is wrong with you? I'm like, horses got out again. He goes, you realize you don't have horses, right? So anyway, one night I had a dream and they weren't horses I knew. And normally in my dreams, it's always my horses that I've had. And these were not my horses. And I didn't understand what was happening, but they were judging the human race. They were looking in the sides of the hearts of humans, decided if they appreciated the gifts of the earth and were good people, or if that had been lost. So when I woke up from that dream, I said, Dan, I have to write it. This was amazing. I have to write a book about this. So my fictional book, The Seven, I published last year. It's already won a silver medal from Reader's Views for Christian fiction and a 5-star review from Reader Views. And I won another award. I don't remember what it is at the moment. But anyway, I picked 7 humans from around the world and research their cultures and their histories and their places. And either the human being or the place has a special meaning to me, but they're totally different cultures, totally different careers and human beings. And they're picked, and God and the Father narrate the book. And each of these humans has an encounter with the horse. The horse looks inside their soul and decides that they appreciate the gifts of the earth. So after they've each had their encounter, and it's 7 separate stories, but they all come together, and they're being judged, and the horses are called forward one at a time to are deemed that they do, humanity will be saved. If the majority do not appreciate the gifts of the earth, the human race will be wiped out and have to start all over again.
Wow. Well, that sounds like an interesting book. Now, did you say the title was 7?
The Seven.
Oh,
an odyssey of 7 horses and 7 souls.
Wow. Well, you definitely have gifts, God has given you to share. And it sounds like you're definitely an overcomer all of your life. You've heard the voice of God from a young age. You were bullied. You went into depression. I mean, you took a risk going to work for this multi-million-dollar conglomerate. And then you did come out of that depression, living your dream of selling around the world, and you're doing it. I mean, that is so wonderful. You're so courageous, and I applaud you for your bravery. And you're writing books, and you're helping people. Every port you go to, you are helping someone. I wanted to tell you one thing about fear. There's a song, and I don't know if you've heard it, but I love it. It's Get Behind Me. It's by Emerson Day, I think. But in that song, it talks about how fear comes like a viper, but that's not my Father's voice. So every time you start feeling that, you just say, that's not my Father's voice, because he is yes and amen. I'm comfort, joy, peace, wealth, prosperity, abundance. He's got you faith, love, hope, all the fruit of the Spirit. So you can just speak to that fear and say, that's not my Father's voice.
I will remember that.
Yeah. So so you told us about your website where people can go get your books and your blog. I will definitely include those in our notes. But any last words for our listeners of encouragement, and where do you like to connect with people?
So my blog and my author website, and for some reason, after 17 years of being on Facebook, I got kicked off the other day, and I've never posted anything but pictures of my journey and positive messages. So I think it's a mistake. But I used to be on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, all of that. I do these little music videos, and I put, the beautiful things that I see in our hikes and excursions and waterfalls and the dolphins, and I put
Mhm.
them to music and do the pictures. And now that's all been taken away from me. So I'm hoping that comes back soon. But
Yes.
we do have a YouTube channel, Sailing Equus. Equus is the name of our boat. It means horse in Latin, Equus. So it's the Sailing Equus YouTube channels, and there's a lot of videos on there. So if people want to see the places we've been and see what our boat looks like and that
Yeah,
kind of thing.
I love that. So, any parting words for our future sailors of the world?
Well, it doesn't have to be sailing. It's more about just following your dreams, whatever your dream is. Like if you feel really passionate about it, go for it because God's going to take care of you. If it's really your dream and you really put your faith in him, don't be afraid to walk away from the life that you know, because you work every day, all day for that phone ringing, to put gas in your car, to pay your bills, to buy more things, to take care of those things you've ever bought, and you get tied to them and you're not really living life anymore. And we live such a everything we own I can fit in one bag, and we have no distractions. We're just here to see the world and its beauty and these magnificent places. And sailing definitely doesn't have to be your dream, but I'm sure there's a dream out there, and don't be afraid to pursue it.
I love that. Don't be afraid to see the dreams happen in your life that God has given to you, because He does
And you
sow those into us.
and you need to get away from the noise and the distractions, because there's too many distractions in our lives when you're on land. There's too many things. You got to go out and be alone in nature and be looking in to the world that you have around you. There's so much to see, and you won't see that just staying in your house and never going anywhere or doing anything. Like even if it's a day trip, go take a hike, go see something.
I agree, Allison. I love nature. I just feel so full. We live out in the nature, and we have a lake, and I get out on my kayak, or I'll, just walk in the woods. I really love that. I've always felt close to nature, so you just get refreshed and revitalized when you're
Mm-hmm.
when you're in nature. So anyone, listening, just if you're having a struggle, if you're trying to overcome something, just take a step back, turn off all your devices,
Yep,
and get in nature. Do something you haven't done in a while, and you will see the difference in your life for sure.
absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. It has been a pleasure, Alison Gieschen, and I
Gieschen.
will put your soulmates.org blog on the notes, and
Yes,
also your website for your books,
it's
AlisonGieschen.com.
yes, and it's sailmates, not soulmates.
Well, I said cellmates, or at least I thought I did.
Okay. I just Because if you go to soulmates.com, you make
Well,
it more
yeah,
than you bargained for.
like SAIL mates.org. All right. It's been such a pleasure. And you guys be safe and praising, because y'all got y'all's boat fixed. So I'm excited to
Yes,
see you
amen on
tomorrow.
that.
Okay, listeners, make sure that you share and subscribe to our channel, Unleash Vision and Faith, and stay tuned for
Thank you so
next
much for
week.
joining us for today's conversation on Unleash Vision and Faith. I hope you're walking away encouraged and ready to lead with purpose in your business. If this episode blessed you, would you do me a favor? Subscribe to the podcast so you never miss a new episode, and share it with another faith-driven entrepreneur who's ready to build her business God's way. Until next time, remember, when you align your vision with God's plan, there's no limit to what He can do through you.